Hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to First and Foremost, the show that's all about your First Lady. I want to take this opportunity to thank my guest from last week, and that was Lady Tony Lene. We had a beautiful conversation. She seemed just like a sister to me. We just had a great conversation and a great flow, and I want to let Pastor Johnson know that you truly have a jewel. She is such a sweetheart, and we are definitely looking forward to getting together later on in the week, and I'm certainly looking forward to having her sister on the show next week. That'll be an interesting thing, two sisters that married two brothers. I'd love to hear the details about that later on, so I'm excited. Ladies, I would like to take my sponsors, and that's Elegant Beauty Cosmetics. Elevate your beauty look with Elegant Cosmetics. Also, tailor-made bodybuilding and construction. If your body isn't becoming to you, then you need to be coming to Audrey. So all the information that you will need will be on my story on Lakeitha London at Facebook Live. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited for today's show. We've already told you that season 3 is going to be a mixture of things, and I know you know that I'm looking gorgeous with my hat on, but we have a very special guest in the studio today. I am so very, very, very excited, and again, it's unprecedented, but I changed out my seat, so he's really not in the first chair, but he is our guest tonight. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Pastor Rick Crawford, our hat designer extraordinaire. And Rick Crawford, this is your camera, so as we're talking, you can let them know everything that's going on. Would you like to say something, Pastor Rick Crawford?
Well, I want to say thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to what's getting ready to take place.
And it's a lot getting ready to take place. And I don't know if you guys can see all of these beautiful hats that's around the studio. And we're going to have an opportunity to talk to, we're going to call him Rick Crawford. And if you guys want to call in and ask a question, please call 313-759-1568. And you know, if you're a hat wearer, you have a ton of questions. So I'm expecting my sister Yvonne to call and my sister Elaine to call and all the church ladies to please give us a call so we can find out about everything that's about hats and more. So this is my introduction for you. It says, get ready to lean in because Rick Crawford is in the building. A true hat designer extraordinaire, Rick brings fearless creativity, undeniable flair, and statement-making style to every piece that he creates. His designs don't just top off a look, they crown confidence, they celebrate individuality, and command attention to the moment you walk in the room. This is more than fashion, this is presence. Welcome to First and Foremost, where style meets purpose, and Rick Crawford delivers both. That's my introduction for you. Cool. We're going to get right into it. This beautiful hat was designed by one and only. Talk to me about your inspiration for hats.
I believe that they're godly inspired. I believe the Lord deals with me late in the midnight hour.
Amen.
My creativity kicks in about between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Oh, wow.
is when I make my best creation. And it's part of my prayer time and
Amen.
my time to spend with the Lord. And the Lord gives me creations and witty ideas.
And you bring it to us. So I want to talk to you about how does what is how does First Ladies in Hats, how did that even become?
Well, I'm not really sure how it became. Well, this is my explanation. You know, I believe that we are a part of the royal priesthood.
Amen.
You know, and we as Black people, we are very royal, fashionable people. And so I believe between being a part of the royal priesthood and being very fashionable people, being African American, you know, it kind of goes together.
That is true. That is true. Now, let me ask you a question because I don't think I've asked you this. Do you design men's hats as well?
I have, but I prefer to stick with the ladies. The ladies spend more money.
Oh, for sure, for sure. But yeah, that is true. I was going to say because the husband will buy the lady a hat. He's not going to get one for. So I believe that. I definitely believe that. I want to talk to you about the word that I was looking for, where you refurbish a hat. That might not be the right word. Is that possible? Does that happen? Is that something that you're doing at your shop?
Yes, I do recreate or redesign a certain hat. There has been times where it was not able to do. I was not able to do it because the hats are like shoes and dresses.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get so old and so worn till it's just really time to get rid of them.
Right.
Did
you hear that, Von Briggs? Sometimes it's just time to get rid of them.
Yeah, because for some reason the ladies will, say this dress is old, but they always hold on to the hats.
Yes, they do.
And sometimes the hat, they've just had their time and their wear. And so, but if the hat is still in good condition, yes, I can rip it apart, and I have designed things that you wouldn't even know the hat that you brought in.
Wow.
And when my father passed, his sister wanted a couple of his hats, and so what I did was I just tore them apart and made a lady's hat out of
Oh,
it.
wow. I would love something like that. 'Cause my dad was a hat wearer. My mom was a hat wearer. So I'd love a hat. So I didn't become first lady to wear a hat. I was wearing a hat already.
Okay.
So talk to me about some of your designs when you're doing more of the wide brim hats, and what occasion would one wear this to short of church?
Well, we do a lot of ladies wear them to their birthday celebrations and to banquets, past their anniversary, all kind of occasions they wear them to. So it all depends on the lady, and the confidence. And so the wide brim hats are basically used in the sanctuary.
Okay. Okay.
And so, weddings.
Yes.
Weddings and funerals are big. They wear them for the, if they have an outside wedding, they more have the bigger hats.
That's true.
To kind of block the sun and things like that.
Now, I know you're a hat designer. I'm trying to find out the perfect word. What hat is too big? You've seen hats that have just been too big. Do you believe in the big hats? Have you designed some of the, the bigger hats that's, where nobody can see in the front, back, side? You have?
Yes, I have. There is a such thing as a hat that is too big, but
Look in the camera and say that.
yeah, there is.
Yes,
There is a certain such thing as a hat that is too big, but I know ladies who they only want them if the brim has to be so wide, because that's their aesthetics, and so it all depends on the lady. But there are some that I think is a little too big, but if the lady wants to wear them, then hey.
Okay. Well, talk to me about a woman who's never worn a hat and say to you, Pastor Rick, I don't wear hats, but they need to wear a hat to an event. How do you style that? How does that work?
Okay, so normally most ladies that say that they don't wear hats is because they've never really given it a chance. When I was younger, my mother asked me, did I eat chitlins? And I said, no, I don't eat those. And she said, well, how do you know that you don't like them if you've never tasted them before?
True.
And she put some on my plate and put some hot sauce on them, and I've been eating them ever since. And so it's the kind of it's the same thing that goes on with the hats. If I could get the ladies to come to the shop, because my shop is open by appointments only, so you have your own private setting, and once I get you to try on some hats and we see what works for you, because anybody can wear a hat, and so we have to see what works for you. And every time, I've never had a time where a lady came out of my shop and was like, oh, I don't like anything. I've always been able to get, out of all the ladies that ever came into the shop, I've never had a lady walk out and was not like, oh, I can't do this.
Well, I think that's wonderful, because I hear so many, and we talked about earlier, a lot of our new first ladies say that they don't wear hats. So I guess this is the perfect time to transition into the fascinators. So how did that even come about? What group do you find wearing more of the fascinators? And is that, because this is a fascinator that I'm wearing and I absolutely love it. So talk to me about the creations of the fascinators and how this design even came up.
Okay, the fascinators came from the royal weddings.
Okay.
When the last royal wedding happened, they really featured the fascinators at the wedding. And so we wear what we see it, like a lot of guys, the latest fashion, they go by the basketball players or the football players, and the designers pay them to wear their stuff stuff, and when we see it and we see it on them, we like it.
Right.
And so a lot of the ladies and the hat wearing ladies from the church watched the royal weddings and was like, oh, that's nice. And so we began to create them here in the States, and they were loving it. Now, a lot of the younger ladies, they don't particularly like the bigger church hats because they feel as if they're old lady church mother hats.
Right.
But it's not that. It's how you wear the
Absolutely.
hat. It's how you wear the hat and what you wear it with. And so, the fascinators are really a younger lady. The younger ladies like them,
Yes.
I guess by just choice or whatever. The older ladies, they don't particularly like them,
Right.
because they don't like these. I have some of the church mothers, I don't want that thing sliding all over my head and all this kind of stuff. But I've even gotten them to change that, and so now they try to keep up with the styles, and they end up loving them.
Because this is a fascinator that I'm wearing, and it's very secure. And I've seen some that have a pin on it, and then it's just a headband. Are those actually being sold in the stores like that?
Oh, absolutely. My new creation is just a feather on the band, and the younger women love them. I can't keep them in the store.
Oh, wow. And different colors and things of that nature?
Different colors, different shapes.
Very interesting.
Yeah. There, and sometimes I cut the hair off of them, and it's just a stick, and I curl the stick, and I dye it different colors, and I put a couple of stones on them, and it's just a couple of sticks with different curls on it, and the younger ladies love them because it's simple elegance.
Oh, wow. It's simple elegance. I love that. I absolutely love that. And I know that you have some here in the studio. And I just wanted to let you viewers know that one lucky caller will receive a hat. I can't tell you which one, but you will receive a hat. And I want to take this time to thank all of our first ladies who brought such beautiful hats. We did have a pop-up shop, and a lot of those hats people were buying up. But the essence of what it is on the show is that they get a chance to get a piece of her story. So when our first ladies are here, and I tell people all the time, you don't have to be a hat wearer, you could just be an admirer. Some people just want to keep them in there for namesake. One of my favorite kind of hats are the ones with the net. I don't see a lot of those now. Is that, what era is that? And you know which ones I'm talking about with the long net? I love those.
Yeah.
What kind of face can wear that? What kind of design can wear that? And where is this happening at?
Well, a lot of designers don't make them anymore, and this is the reason why you need me. Because when I go to New York, I buy all kind of veils, all kind of netting, and different colors and everything, and I custom make them. But a lot, if the designers at the suppliers to store, if the people aren't buying them, then they don't make them anymore. But if I make something and then I get the people to sell them, when other people see them, like when the other ladies see the first ladies wearing them, then they're like, oh, okay. Then you'll find them coming in the store. Well, I like what Sister London had on and this and that, and I don't want nothing like hers, but something similar to that. And so, yeah.
Okay, but I have not seen anyone, and I had a favorite one, and I wanted to bring it to you to just find out, how do you keep the netting from wrinkling up? I mean, how, if you have a hat and you're trying to keep it preserved, what is the best way to preserve those types of hats?
The best way is to stick some paper inside the veiling so that it won't wrinkle up. But if it does, if you got a simple teapot, you get the teapot really hot and put the veil over the steam, and the wrinkles will fall right out of the veil. Right before you get ready to wear it, just let the steam from the teapot, let the teapot really get hot where there's a lot of steam out there, and just hold the veil over the steam, whether it's netting or tulle or whatever it is. You can let it hold it right over the steam, and less than 5 minutes, all of the wrinkles will be gone.
Okay, that's definitely something I want to know about. Now, talk to me about any of the first ladies, famous first ladies that you've done. What are they looking for when they come to you and say, Pastor Rick, I'm looking for this? Do you offer suggestions, or do they come in with some ideas already?
It depends on the first lady.
True.
You know,
Can you speak about someone in particular?
Yes,
If you don't, okay,
yes.
please
My
do.
favorite in the world, Evangelist Karen Clark Sears.
Oh, okay,
She
okay.
is my favorite, and she is one of my greatest supporters.
Awesome.
She likes colors. You know,
I've seen that.
a lot of times when they call me, they'll send me material or different things like that,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
like, well, I need something to go with this, and it's never really simple.
I know
It's like
it
a
can't
million
be, I'm
colors
sure.
in the material, but I'm just so honored that they, consider me and give me a chance, and she's bought quite a few of them
Oh,
for
I'm
me.
sure. I'm
And
sure.
so sometimes the ladies will come to the shop and they'll drop off their dress and say, well, I need something to go with this. I need you to design something for me to go with this. And then I'll make a couple of pieces, and they'll come back in a week or two and decide which one they like.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's a good segue to this question. When a woman wears a hat, how is she coordinating it with her outfit? I've seen a lot of people I said, now what in the world does that have to do with anything? So how would one style themselves if they wanted to wear a hat?
Well,
And we're not talking about Karen Clark, because of course she's all color, but just someone, like myself, or, a young woman.
yeah, it all depends on the ladies. There's some ladies that, I had one first lady says, well, Crawford, they call me Crawford.
Okay.
Crawford, I want to make a statement, but I don't want to be the conversation.
Let me let that marinate for a minute. I want to make a statement, but I don't want to be the conversation.
And
I
so,
like that.
yeah, I thought that was good. And so, what they do, the latest thing that I know that they do is they'll take the small color out of the dress or out of the print, and they'll put their hats or in their shoes to bring out the smaller color in the outfit.
Okay.
And so I thought that was quite unique. But a lot of them, if I like that, if they like the hat, then it's like I'll figure out something to go with it.
Now, what is your take on a black dress and any one of these hats that you have here? Talk to me about it.
I love black. I think black can go with anything. If you wear the right black, you can put on any. If you're a hat wearer, anything works with black. Black is elegant and I think is always appropriate, and it works with anything.
Now, when you say black, are we talking about what do you call it? That seal skin kind of material that they're wearing with all the puffs? Are you speaking about polyester? Are you speaking about a quality black? Because we've seen some blacks. It's great. I mean, and I don't want to put on one of these hats with that. So we're talking about a good quality black.
Yeah, right. And so, yeah, you want good quality. And so, it's I don't know whether it depends on the style, but now, are we talking color or are we talking style?
We're talking style.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you have to be careful because you don't want to be a Christmas tree
Right.
decorated from the top to the bottom.
Right, right.
Some people, it's just overkill. You got rhinestones all the way from your hat to down your dress to your shoes. And it's like a Christmas tree. You're decorated from the top with a big star on the top. And so you don't really want that look. I think, to be elegant.
Would you
and-
say that in the camera? So you really, this your camera, so you really don't want that look.
Yeah, you really don't want to be overkill. You just lights and tulle and everything just all over, just
Yes.
wrapped around. You don't want that look. Elegance and class is, sometimes less is more.
Less is more.
Yeah.
Less is more. But you're talking about as far as the dress, because the hat is all that and then some,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
So I think if your hat is doing a lot, then your dress should be kind of toned down. If your dress is toned down, then your hat's it should be doing a lot of talking. But to have them both is a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we talk about styles of dresses, can you tell me if you wear a short dress, would it make a difference with the kind of hat that you have as opposed to and when I say long, I don't mean something that you're going to wear out. I mean just a long length dress. What kind of hat will one wear with that, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, talk to me about, because I know we talked about the Royals. Well, let me ask you this. What is your take on the matching hat, shoes, and purse?
It's okay. I think, too much matchy gets to be boring.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so, there was a time where everybody was doing color blocking. And so that was good. But, you don't want to be too matchy. Give us something to look at. Let us try to figure out, wow, that's pretty creative for you to put all that together like that.
Now, what do you mean when you say color blocking? I'm familiar with it, but I want the audience to know.
Color blocking is two colors that don't really go together, but you make it work. And so,
but what if you don't make it work, but you still color blocking?
Then that's not good.
Okay, we're gonna move right along.
That's not good. Yeah.
Okay, I want to get into. Please get an opportunity again. Please call into the show. The phone number is 313-759-1568, and you will have an opportunity to win one of these beautiful hats here in the studio, created by none other than Rick Crawford, hat extraordinaire. What is the average cost of a hat, one of your designs, for some poor first lady like myself?
Well, I normally range between 75 is the lowest.
Okay, that's not
if
too
you want to
bad.
go a little bit lower than 75, then you probably want to try the beauty supply or
I hear you.
somewhere like that. But 75 is the lowest because I like to. I use high quality stuff, and so I don't use cheap material. I don't use the Chinese stones that sparkle. I use Swarovski crystals.
Okay.
And so I use top quality stuff, and because I want to give a certain quality look.
Absolutely. Now, can I ask you what is the most somebody has paid for a hat, even if it is the first lady? Tell me what is the most someone has paid for a hat?
The most someone has paid me for a hat was about a little bit over 800.
Oh, that's not bad. I thought you was going to say in the thousands. I
Yeah.
really thought you were going to say that. Okay.
I haven't worked my way up there yet, but
800 is still a lot.
yeah. So, but if you go to some of the conventions, they have the gigantic. So this is my clientele. A lot of the ladies in Detroit, they don't like. If you go to New York, New York is not scared of anything.
Right,
They
that's
wear
true.
everything. You can put a chandelier on the hat,
That's
and they
true.
will wear them. And so, but here in Detroit, they're like middle ways. I don't want too much or whatever. But if you go to the conventions, those hats start at $1,000 and
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
And so, I have to work with Detroit right now.
Right.
So
We talked about I don't even know any other male hat designer. And I know when my mom was wearing hats, we went to Mr. Song. Where are those hats created from? Is there somebody doing those hats, or are they produced mass? How does that work?
Well, no, Mr. Songs he's no longer. They're no longer here in Michigan. They have moved out of the country.
Okay.
Well, once upon a time, I was married, and my wife needed a hat for an appreciation that I was having, and we went to Mr. Songs to get a hat, and he found out that I was a hat designer, and
So you met Mr. Song?
Yes, I did more than meet him.
Okay.
I did more. He found out that I was a hat designer, and he wasn't so pleased with me.
I can imagine.
He asked me to leave his shop because he felt like I was going to take his designs. Well, after a while, I didn't make a big issue out of it. I still bought hats for my wife there. And then after a while, me and his son Luke got to be really good friends. They went out of business, and he sold me all of their stuff.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
And so I have a warehouse full of material.
Wow, of material, not
Yes.
the hats in particular.
Some of them are already blocked.
Okay,
Yes.
but that's why I was asking. He's making them, and the son we're actually making them. These are not mass production hats.
Some are, and some are not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I like to see a one-of-a-kind hat.
Yes,
I love
yes.
to see a one-of-a-kind. I do not want to see anybody else
In
wearing
yours.
and I don't care how they're dressing it up. I spot the hat first. I want to talk to you. Oh, I'm sorry. Did we have a question?
Yes, we do.
Well, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We have a question.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening, Eric.
Miss Peaches wants to know. She said, First Lady, you are beautiful and fascinating."
Thank you.
And she wants to know, can anyone wear a hat as such regardless of their head size. She said she has a smaller head, so she's not
She
sure
does
how
have a
that's gonna
small
look
hat.
on her.
She does. She does have a little head.
Yes,
Very little.
anyone can wear a fascinator. A fascinator is anything that fastens to your head, and so it can be a comb.
Is that the actual meaning of a fascinator?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
yes,
that.
Yes, ma'am. Is anything that fastens to your head. So sometimes it's a comb, sometimes it's a band, you know, sometimes it's the elastic that goes around. You don't wear it under your chin like a birthday hat. You always wear it in the back.
Okay.
And so, but it's not an actual hat. It gives you the illusion of a hat.
Okay.
But it is not an actual hat. It's something that fastens to your
Okay,
head.
I did not know that. I really did not know that. We're going to get ready for a commercial, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get ready to go to this commercial, there's one hat that I definitely want to show you, even though you're going to get an opportunity to be showcased to all of this. Can I have that black hat right there? You're going to get an opportunity to see all of these beautiful hats, and we're going to make sure that Rick Cranford delivers, no, not that one, Rick Cranford's hat, not wherever that came from. On the table. It's over there on the table. We're going to make sure that you get Rick Cranford's address. He's going to give you a discount because you're going to say, hey, I saw you on First and Foremost. That's the one, if you don't mind, Jason. My apologies for the camera. Look at this gorgeous hat. And see, something like this, you can wear it with something just plain, because this is just saying everything.
Yes.
Is this appropriate to wear to a funeral?
Absolutely.
Okay, because we don't want to outshine the, you know what I'm saying? But this is absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. So it just goes to show you guys he's doing something, not that this is simple, but you can have something as simple as this or something as spectacular as what I'm wearing. So we'll get a chance to get information from Rick Cranford right after this commercial break. Hello everyone, First Lady Lakeitha London here, you know, the host of First and Foremost, the show that's all about the First Lady. Well, I just wanted to let you know that we are excited to announce the First and Foremost First Lady Honor Contest. We want to celebrate the incredible women who stand as leaders, visionaries, and pillars in their community. So we invite you to submit some nominations to recognize a First Lady who has gone above and beyond in service, leadership, and in love. I need you to submit your 20 to 30 second video telling us why this First Lady is deserving of this honor and how she actually made an impact. The deadline for your submission is May the 5th. The grand prize will be a celebration and a live taping with your First Lady and up to 10 guests at our sponsor's location. The runner-up will appear live here on First and Foremost along with their video presentation, and they will receive a sponsor's basket full of goodies. The winner will be announced on a special edition of First and Foremost on May the 12th. Again, submit your video to Lady London First, F-I-R-S-T, at yahoo.com. If you have any questions, please DM me at Lakeitha London on Facebook or send an email to ladylondonfirst at yahoo.com. My nomination would be First Lady Barbara Jennings of New Providence Baptist Church. First Lady Jennings, the first time I met her, along with my husband, sowed a seed, and she put it in the palm of my hand, and I never even looked at it until I got home. And she did it on several occasions. And I want to be the type of person who can just sow a seed for someone. And I don't know if she knows this, but it changed my life as a First Lady. And it really just let me know that what comes from the heart really reaches the heart. So Lady Barbara Jennings, you would be my nomination for the First Lady's Honor Contest. So please submit your 20 to 30 second video telling us why your First Lady is deserving of this honor to ladylondonfirst at yahoo.com. Thank you, and we're looking so forward to the nominations and to the presentations. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, this is First and Foremost. I know this isn't our First Lady, but this is a special guest today, and this is Pastor Rick Cranford. He is a hat designer extraordinaire. Mother's Day is coming up. Easter is next week. The Kentucky Derby is coming. And you already know that hats have always been associated with First Lady. So I wanted to have Rick Crawford here so he can talk to us about all of our beautiful hat design, all of his beautiful hat design, because I didn't design any of them. All of his beautiful hat designs, talk about the type of hat that you can wear. And if you've ever doubted the fact that you couldn't wear a hat, Rick Crawford has already explained to us anyone can wear a hat. So I want to talk to you about the pillbox hat. As far as I can go back and remember, that was one of the things in my mother's closet. Where has it gone? Is it still in fashion? And what's new happening with those hats?
Yes, the pillbox hats are still fashionable. A lot of the older ladies like them, but I have some ladies who can wear anything. And so they're redesigned to a 2000 style, 2000. And so, yeah, they're still fashionable, and I still make quite a bit of them.
Really?
Yes.
Now that's a pretty simple. So how you're ornating it by what? Because it's strictly a pillbox, and that comes from. How did the name derive for the pillbox hat?
It's just a round hat without a brim.
A round hat without a brim. Okay, I love that. So what kind of women, and now you say everybody can wear one, but what kind of is for the older women?
No, it's
What
not
would you say?
necessarily for the older women, but that's the hat that they prefer.
Okay.
I sell a lot of pillboxes to the older women, and so I don't know what exactly make them go to that, but that's their go-to.
Well, I guess because if I was to wear a hat, I'm always thinking about my face. So I want to talk about what kind of hairstyle shouldn't be worn with the hat. I love what you said earlier about hair versus hat, because it's like a fight between it. So tell me about that.
Well, if you're going to wear a hat, you don't want your hat to be fighting with your because your hat or your fascinator, because some of the ladies, they have the big curly fries thing going on, and then they'll have a little fascinator buried
Literally buried.
buried in the middle of the curl somewhere, and it's like, well, I think that's a hat up there. I'm not sure what that is.
Right.
And so you never want, the Bible tells us that the woman's hair is her glory.
Yes.
And the hats are glorious. If you have a bad hair day or if you have a good hair day, I'm the guy that you want to see.
Okay.
And so, but you don't want your hairdo and your hat fighting each other. We don't know which one is to look at.
Say that in the camera.
Yeah, you do not want your hair and your hat fighting each other. Which one is the most glorious?
I have had some people like that, like, wait a minute, it's too much going on here.
Yeah.
And I'm always conscious about that, because I told you I had locks at one time, and I stopped wearing hats because it just didn't, it's like a clash.
Yeah.
You're wearing, not that I was Rasta in any way, because my locks were gorgeous, but a certain type of hairstyle goes with the hat.
Yes.
Most people would say a bun. What are you saying?
I would say either short haircut or bun, but I've seen ladies that have long hair that look wonderful in them, but you just want to kind of pull your hair to the back.
Right.
When you have all of this curly locks and all this bush coming out, and then the hat sitting on top, it kind of competes with each other. And so if you have long hair, you just kind of want to let it hang in the back with the hat.
Okay, I love that. When you're designing your hats, talk to me about what hat has brought you the most pleasure. When you created that hat, you was like, now that's a bad hat right there.
Yeah.
Have you had 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? How does that work?
You know what? I like all of my stuff.
Yeah, and very well you should. Good answer.
I cannot say that I have that hat. I love what I do, because this is my take on fashion. A lot of times when you go to the fashion shows, they're very lustful.
Right.
They're very if I can say so, the clothing line is very lustful and slightly demonic to me. And so
Yes.
as a Christian woman or a man, you don't really have much at the fashion shows for us to wear this church appropriate.
That's true.
You know,
That is true.
and so I believe that is my job to create something for the Christians to wear, because a lot of times the reason why the younger people dress the way that they do is because they see all of the celebrity Beyonce
Right.
and all that. Well, Beyonce is not wearing no church dress,
No, she
and
definitely is.
so that's why you have Beyonce dresses in the church, is because that's what they're looking at. But what happens when I come to church and I see the queen of the house looking elegant and presentable, then I have something different to look at. But if we're just all dried up and in church and don't look like much, then if I have a choice to look at Beyonce or the first lady, and the first lady ain't looking like much, then I'm going with the Beyonce look.
True.
But if my first lady looks a certain kind of way, elegant and grand and beautiful, then I'm not so quick to dress, inappropriate for church, because she's showing me how and what to wear, and I can still look good, and I don't have to look like an old person.
Right. And I'm going to marinate on that question for a moment. So to me, it sounds like you said if the first lady is looking good and wearing certain things, that dictates what maybe the pew is wearing.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. When I the guys were wearing lapel pins. Well, they still wear lapel
And
pins.
I love those lapel pins you had on you. Did you bring any?
I did. I was rushing.
That's
and
okay. I forgive
couldn't
you this
figure-
time. So gorgeous.
I couldn't figure it out. And a lot of the guys, they was not wearing them, but as they see them, as I'm up before them all
Right,
the time
right.
with the lapel pins on, they was like, oh, okay, I can do that. And after a while, it may take a while, but after they see the queen, because that's one of that as a child, that was one of my exciting things about going to church, is to see what everybody was wearing.
Right, right.
And my grandmother was a dresser, my dad was a dresser, and so when it was time to go to church, that was an event. And so when we went to church and we seen all the fashion, that was exciting. And so we look forward to see the first lady. Don't let us down.
Right.
on the special occasion.
For sure.
It takes away from the celebration if you just come in there with a white shirt on and a dress and nothing on your head. It's like, oh, this
Right.
was uneventful.
Uneventful. Well, you know what? My first experience with the first lady, my church, I was at the church for like 10, 15 years. There wasn't a first lady.
Okay.
And I know, and I'm not going to say a lot of churches don't have a first lady. So how do you get your sense of fashion from that? Because they're wearing anything in the church.
They are.
You do know that. So how do you? It's your own style, but we know when we pull something out of the closet if it's appropriate or not.
Yes.
We do know that.
And so, so what I like to do is I like to, because I told you I was divorced. And so what I do is I teach my mothers, what I prefer the ladies to wear, and I'll show them, and they train the other ladies.
Did you hear that? Say that again.
And so I show the mothers
Wow.
what I feel that is appropriate, and we have a meeting about it.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
that we, talk about it and exchange ideas, and we set a standard.
Would you tell the audience, the name of your church?
My church is Community Church of Christ.
That is awesome. Now that's a first, because I think, especially with the mothers, but mothers can't even say things to people now.
Yeah.
Your skirt is too short. Put this on, or you can't say that. So I think, how do you do that? So the women are saying as soon as they walk in the door, oh, let me pull her to the side. Is that what you're saying?
No. We never want to make anybody feel uncomfortable.
Right.
And so as you become a part and you see what we do, and we slowly teach you, or how comfortable. And then if you're not dressed totally inappropriate, then
Right.
we just let you do your thing.
Okay.
But we
Okay.
try to set a standard. But if that's not your thing, we don't bother you.
Well, I don't want to get into too much first lady questions, but what is your take on the come as you are? Since we're talking about this, what's the come as you are?
I'm okay with it. I think that when you go, you're not going to wear a church dress to the club. and you're not going to wear a tuxedo to the gym. And so every place has certain rules and certain standards and certain wardrobes that you wear. And I just believe when we come to God, we ought to give him our best, you know.
I believe that 100%. But what do you say to people who say, this is all that I got?
And then you say, well, you come as you are, and God's going to bless you with more.
Amen, amen, amen. Well, I absolutely love that. I'm going to have to come to your church and speak to some of the first, you know, the mothers, because of course they are the foundation of the church. And again, there was a time that people were really going to them for advice. Now, there's not a first lady at your church, but I've had some first ladies that sat in this chair and said that when they became first ladies, the people tried to dress them. I've had a lot of first ladies say that. What is your, because that's different than what you said, as opposed to somebody, let me take you shopping. Talk to me about that.
Well, I don't think that you should try, I don't think, well, if you, well, let me say this. People will, okay, there's so much that I want to say. So when I first got divorced, it was right before I started pastoring. And then my wife came and joined the church after we got divorced and stayed for 5 years, right?
Wow.
And so there's so much, so
just talk to me. Hey, this chair is for real people, man or woman. You know, speak your truth.
So, you know, when I got married because we had a child out of wedlock.
Okay.
And by me being a church boy, everybody said, well, y'all need to get married. Y'all need to get married. And so we got married, and then we started having disagreements everywhere, and everybody said, that's just a shame.
Right.
And so at first they were saying that I need to get married, and then when I got married, they was like, that's a shame. They don't need to be together.
Right.
And so I've come to the conclusion that church people are not going to make me do anything else that I'm not prepared or that I don't want to do.
Right.
And so, you know, and to respond to what you were asking me, I just think that, you know, you have to be very careful about how you handle people.
Yes.
And, you know, I'll listen to your advice, but am I going to necessarily take it? Not if it doesn't suit me or I don't feel like it. Now, I'm open for suggestions. And so when my wife came to the church after we had got a divorce, everybody's saying, y'all need to get back together. Y'all need to be married. And I was like, you don't know her.
Right.
No, I don't.
And that's a whole nother show because, you know, you have to let God choose someone for you.
And so church folks will try to dictate to you what you should do. But, you know, I'm always open to listen to people. And I don't ever want to get to the point where I can't hear or be teachable, or, you know, I'm open up for suggestions. But if I don't feel like it's for me, then it's not going to be. And church people are not going to dictate what I should do.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. This has probably been one of the best shows I've had because I love hats. And you have just informed me of everything that I've ever wanted to know about a hat. I thought my sister would call in, but I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to say where your shop is, who can get in contact with you, talk about your church if you want to. What is the best way to store a hat? If you don't have these beautiful, you guys needed to see this hat box that Crawford brought in here. You can only be a hat lover to have something like that. But talk to me about the best way to store a hat, especially if you got something this big or with the wide brands. What is the best way to store it?
Well, the best way to store it is I normally use drum containers. They're what we use for hat drums. I mean, well, the drum cases that they actually carry the drums in.
Wow.
The ladies store them in that. You have hat boxes. And so it depends on how many hats you have and what size you have.
Right, because someone has to have a lot of closet space for some of the bigger ones.
Exactly.
And you know what, a lot of these, even the bag, what kind of hat, even look at this beautiful bag. So you're going to get this. I want to keep this myself. Anyway, what kind of hat, any kind of hat can go in here. And we must put paper in it to keep the shape. And how do you keep it from dry rotting? We talked about that. That's inevitable.
Yeah, that's kind of, you know, it's just like anything else. You know, if you have to keep it at the right temperature. And I have a lot of customers, their whole basement is their closet.
Yeah.
And so they have sections, and you have to keep it, you just have to take care of it like anything else.
Like anything else. Ladies and gentlemen, again, this has truly been first and foremost, has already been groundbreaking. So having Crawford here in this chair even lets you know it's more groundbreaking. I am a lover of hats, and I know that First Ladies hats are associated with the First Lady. So now you guys got an idea kind of how that works. But if you're truly looking to have a unique look, Rick Crawford is going to tell you all about his shop, where to go, what to do, and hopefully you guys will see me in one of these hats. You know that Easter is next week, so you have an opportunity to meet with Crawford at his shop. Mother's Day is coming up. If you want to get a hat for your mom, I'm sure, or your First Lady or anyone, Crawford is going to tell you how to go. Oh, and I wanted to also let you know that he's making these beautiful lap scarves for the ladies, and they come in all different colors. And maybe I've got so many that's monogrammed, and I absolutely love them. So if you guys are interested in that, and the lapel, I definitely want to have one of those. And so I'm going to turn it over to Rick Crawford, and then I'll be back to tell you goodbye. This is your camera. Feel free to talk about where we can find you at.
Okay. Well, right now I have been doing a lot of traveling and a lot of vending. I've worked for the Church of God in Christ, and I have a lot of vendings out of town and in town. So right now I'm open by appointments only.
Appointments only.
And so you're going to have to call me and make an appointment. You can always DM me on Facebook as Rick Crawford. Now, if you go to Ricky Crawford, you're going to go to my son. And so you can take the shorter route and just come straight to me, but I'm Rick Crawford. And so.
And where's your shop located?
My shop is located on Telegraph between 9 Mile and 10 Mile. The landmark is Nicola. Nicola's.
Okay.
If you get to Nicola's, just keep coming down on the same side of the street, and I'm right there about a mile away from Nicola's.
Okay.
And so if you want the address and you want my phone number, because I don't really want to give it out because people will show up and I'm not there. And so if you call me, then we can make an appointment.
Okay.
And so just DM me on Facebook, Rick Crawford, and we'll make sure that we set up an appointment just for you in your own private setting.
Well, thank you guys so very much. Again, this is Pastor Rick Crawford. Crawford is known as the baddest hat man. Someone deemed you that, the baddest hat man in the city of Detroit. Someone deemed that you, so I want to give you that name. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to First and Foremost. Again, our third season is coming in hot. I can't wait to see you guys next week. So, thank you again for coming tonight. Take care. God bless. And I look forward to seeing you next week.